Professor Boot. As always with these discussions, it ultimately comes down to just that. Is God just? See, the topic supposedly we were debating tonight is does God exist? But that's not Dr. DiCarlo's problem, you see. He's open on that question. What he doesn't like God because he doesn't like God's justice, God's definition of justice. That's what comes out and has come out again and again. The issue then is the issue of morality. And as with most skeptics in my experience, the issue is not a lack of evidence to believe in God. It's the desire to live as we want to live without God interfering with our lives in a way that we feel is inappropriate because it limits our freedom in some way or another. Every worldview, whatever you believe, has a point of departure. To call Christianity intolerant is ridiculous. Every worldview that claims truth status has a point of departure. Even Jainism ultimately will say you cannot say that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. So it's impossible to assert any true proposition and be tolerant of the opposite if we're going to say that there is such a thing as truth. Heaven and hell. This again seems to be the issue here. What of heaven and hell? The biblical conception of heaven and hell and of the justice of God is that no man will want to be in the presence of God who doesn't love and worship God. Heaven would be hell to the humanist and the atheist. Hell's their heaven, because it's the perfection in degree of what we want now in life. If our hearts and lives and minds are turned towards God, His righteousness, His truth, His justice, God's presence is heaven to us. It's not heaven to those who would hate God's justice. We all move beyond the grave. Yes, we do. The question is, hell, as biblically defined, is a place where Jesus says there's weeping and gnashing of teeth because people have chosen to be there, their own gods. As C.S. Lewis puts it on the doors, Jesus does not say to any man, you're going to hell. Rather, he says, your will be done. It's those who say, thy will be done, who are in the presence of God, and Jesus says to those who do not want to be there, thy will be done. That's the issue. The issue is justice. Well, on what basis can we have justice in the universe? Christopher has talked a lot about morality and justice and is judging the morality of God. If there's no God, there is only, as Dawkins has put it, blind, pitiless indifference. It's just DNA, it's just molecules, it's just atoms. There is no good, there's no evil, there's no justice, there's no injustice. So there's no good morally complaining to God because morality is not a coherent concept. And that has been my argument this evening. Without God, who is spirit, you only have the material universe. How can a constantly changing, impermanent flux of matter be a basis for unchanging immaterial laws of thought, rationality, or morality? It is by definition impossible. And so only by actually presupposing God can Christopher make a moral complaint against God. As I said before, he wants to borrow from my worldview in order to criticize it. This was not a debate about the age of the earth. If we want to do a debate, a discussion about the age of the universe or whatever, fine. There are other Christians who hold a different view to me. The debate is, does God exist? What is the offense of the Christian position? The offense is that instead of beginning with man and his reason as autonomous and as the ultimate standard, we begin with the being of God and his revelation for the Christian ultimately in Jesus Christ. You see, man's problem, human beings' problem, is that we want to be our own standard for everything. Morality, truth, justice, and everything else, and so we collapse into a relativistic sea. We disappear and deconstruct ourselves into the void of questions with no answers, of ultimate meaninglessness, of the absurd, as the existentialists have put it. The discussion tonight has been about two worldviews, two ways of approaching reality. The most that the non-theist can attest to, can affirm, is the thinking self, the I. That's it. That's all they want to attest to. But they cannot move beyond that, because without God, there's no basis for a correlation between my mind and the world, or a correlation between my mind and your mind, because there's no pre-ordered structure, pattern, design. There's no design plan. It's irrational, brute factuality. Unbelief leads ultimately to the denial of knowledge, because brute facts are impervious to rationality. Our choice is stark. It's a choice between a world of total meaning in God or a world of total meaninglessness, a personal God or an impersonal void. Your choice tonight is not between Joe Boot and Dr. DiCarlo. This is a choice between the autonomous self, the I of DiCarlo, and God. Jesus Christ and Christopher DiCarlo. You take your pick. Jesus has spoken authoritatively, I believe, in his word. He said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. If you really want moral freedom, freedom from guilt, you can know it in the person of Jesus Christ, that I've come you might have life in all its fullness, and you can know God. I'm telling you that today, in Christ. Please leave feedback cards at the back of the gymnasium. Thank you so much for coming, and whatever your view and whatever your conclusion, congratulate yourself and the organizers. Tonight was a victory, I believe, for democracy and decency and debate. Thank you very much indeed. Have a safe evening.